We'll get started at 6 o'clock, and this is a public hearing for the discussion about possibility of a no-wake zone on West Channel. There's been a request to look into that. Amelia Myers from Environmental Services will be conducting the meeting tonight to take input. There's no decisions going to be made tonight. It's strictly going to be gathering information to the pros and nays or whatever. Even though you did sign in at the door here, when you come to the podium, we'd like to also record name and address of the person who is speaking so it can go into the records here. We have people from Environmental Services taking care of that. Amelia will take care of the information provided to the board. DNR still has some information. We should probably explain that part of it. But we're gathering information tonight and the public input. So Amelia, you can take over.
Do you guys want to introduce yourselves? I'm assuming I'll know you.
Some of the commissioners that are present tonight are Greg Nairi from over by Caledonia. Teresa Walter is District 4, which is Lucassen Township and Mountain Prairie. Bob Burns is from the Caledonia area. So those are the 4 commissioners that are listening. Again, no vote tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Dewey. As he said, I'm with the Environmental Services Office, and we were brought in to facilitate this public hearing. It is just an information gathering hearing tonight. And so on this no-wake zone on West Channel, to extend from the West Channel Bridge to the mouth of the main channel. As Dewey said, the commissioners started this last fall, and we got looking into it. The DNR does provide the framework for instituting water surface ordinances, and so we've been doing, multiple departments have been involved in doing the legwork to get all the paperwork in order, but the last part of that is to actually host a public hearing and get public comment before it actually gets sent up for review. So I know there is some concern, I guess I'll just address that right away, that we've heard from the public in regards to whether Houston County actually has the authority to enact this legislation within the county and a neighboring jurisdiction. As we do realize that the state line runs down the middle of West Channel, it has been reviewed by our legal team, and they believe that we do have authority to go from the Minnesota bank of the West Channel to the Wisconsin bank. However, note that it will get sent up to the DNR, and they will review it, and there may be things that we aren't aware of, and so with that, they may not allow us to move forward, but they wouldn't provide any input on it until we actually submitted a formal application. So that is why we're kind of here tonight, and it may seem kind of an odd way to approach the process, but that is where we're at. We have to go through this and provide a documentation of all the public comment in order to provide that complete application to the DNR for review. And so I guess the other thing I want to add is that your county board is actually the one that will ultimately make the decision on this. If it goes up to the state and the DNR approves it, any federal agency that needs to, if they approve it, that doesn't necessarily mean that the ordinance is enacted. It does come back here, and it is your local group of legislators here that make that ultimate decision. And so I guess I don't have a good timeline on when that will all come down the line. I think the DNR has up to 120 days to look at an application as soon as it gets up there. But you will just need to keep an eye on the county board agendas to see when things get to that point, and if they do. I guess again, I want to reiterate too that, as Dewey said, tonight is strictly informational, and there is no decision being made here. I guess with that, can everybody hear me in the back now that now that we're done? Okay.
You're doing fine, you're doing fine.
There are copies, if anybody needs them, there are copies of the proposed ordinance over here. Would you guys like me to just read that, or are we good to go forward? Okay. So we'll just move forward and open our public comment. I guess I'm just going to establish a few ground rules before we get started here. We ask that you come up to the podium to speak. There is another sign-in sheet there, but it's to help us in providing documentation to make sure we get correct names to faces as we're providing or writing out minutes. So if you could sign in up there and speak up. Unfortunately, I don't have any mics here, so if you could speak up so that everybody can hear, that would be great. We are limiting public comment to 3 minutes. We'll give you a minute around, or a warning around 2 minutes, and I guess I just ask that everybody be respectful. We don't need a lot of, or we don't want a lot of back and forth with the audience, and start debate or anything. Again, the purpose of this hearing is strictly to provide comments. So, we are recording this hearing, and so if anybody's looking for that video in the future, we'll get it posted as soon as possible. I think about a week, so you can look for that on the county website. So I guess, unless anybody has anything else to add, we'll get started if somebody has any comments. Okay.
Step forward to the podium and address the meeting.
I got a big mouth. I'll start. I signed in there. Want to sign in again?
Yep.
Can you state your name as well?
I can. Dennis Huber, 118 Shore Acres Road, McCrescent. But our biggest complaint is all the noise and all the boats when they tear down through the channel. My wife can't be here because she's too handicapped to come. It's real annoying. Like you get up 6 o'clock in the morning and you've got 60, 70 boats when they have a tournament across. And sometimes they tear down there 2 and 3 wide. I have seen as many as 4 wide. Go down through there wide open. They have no care of people's docks or what they're doing to people that got boats parked along there. They don't seem to care. All they want to do is get from point A to point B as fast as they can. Now, lacrosse has a no-wake zone. So when they have a tournament, they send them down through the West Channel because they can get out to where they want to go faster. I don't think it should be that way. If lacrosse can have a no-wake zone, I think we ought to have a no-wake zone. And put us on the same page as everybody else. We are definitely against the whole against not having a no-wake zone. We want a no-wake zone. I think I said that straight. If I did, let me know. But anyway, we're for the no-wake zone. And the wife is too. She would sign in if she was here. So I'll leave it go with that.
Thank you.
Come on, Jim, get up there. Don't be just make yourself useful.
Hi, I'm Jim Berdalen. Originally, my father lived down there, and we, 2001, flood hit him, and he said that was enough. So I ended up buying the property from him, and that's all I got. I shouldn't have to take my time. I get sign-in time, right?
Feel like I am. We can't do two things at the
I
same time.
have boats down in a dock there. And, my biggest concern is, I'm sure my property gets damaged. I had a Sea Ray boat that actually, on a Saturday of a tournament, the waves were so bad it jumped it up on a cleat and punched a hole right through the fiberglass. But I'm more concerned with my 5 grandkids. I have 5 grandkids, 4 and under, and they love to go down on the pontoon boat. And to get them down there is really, it's kind of scary if there's a fast tournament going on because they come through there extremely quick. They are supposed to go single file, but as Dennis pointed out, that doesn't happen necessarily. This year earlier, I timed it from the dam, or from the wing dam where it starts, down to the bridge. And if I go no wake, it takes me about 4 or 5 minutes. That's not a whole lot of fishing time being wasted. I just feel that the safety factor is huge. Somebody's gonna get hurt, because there's a lot of other boats down there, people coming through, coming up and going that way. It isn't very wide. What would you guys guess it is, the width across it?
200 yards.
Maybe, yeah.
At its
maybe-
widest.
Yeah, at its widest. I mean, I can almost cast across it. And they have one or two boats going 50, 60 miles an hour through there. It's just not right. It really isn't. You know, La Crosse has a no-wake zone. They don't have any homes in the no-wake zone. They have pontoon, or they have boat houses. But they don't have any homes in there. And, you know, there's a lot of us that live in that stretch. My concern is obviously property damage, but more than anything, somebody's going to get hurt. So, the commissioners who are here, I hope you'll hear us. I like to go faster there too, but I don't, because it's just, it's not worth it. It's a mystery. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm Dave Hannaful, longtime resident of Shore Acres, probably the oldest one over there. I'm very disappointed with our county board and our county attorney. This issue has been brought up by me to him for over 3 years now, about the problems we're having with the wake action caused from these bass boaters tearing up and down the West Channel. What I've been told is, well, there'll be a difficult from our sheriff's department to enforce it. La Crosse has got an ordinance. In fact, they just updated the ordinance in La Crosse with several more nose wake areas. It was published in the legal section of the La Crosse Tribune on February 22nd. There was no reference at all about having to go to a state or more federal regulating bodies to get a no wake through. Again, I'm very disappointed why this has been dragged out for so long. We're looking now forward to another summer of being terrorized out on the main channel by these bass boaters. We've got no consideration for any other boater. Again, I attended many meetings at the Harbor Commission in La Crosse, Wisconsin, way before COVID. And I would bring up the concern that we had over in West Channel, because they control half of the West Channel on the east side. My recommendation was to try to get the bass boat promoters to emphasize to their people to hug the shoreline on the developed side of the West Channel.
You're hugging the wrong shoreline, Dave.
Now, hugging by referencing,
No, I mean, they come right by our docks.
I realize that. To skirt along the east side of the channels, because the center line of the West Channel is a state line. And some of them do comply with that, a lot of them don't. Our local bass fishermen do anything they want, because there's no wake area there. So south of the West Channel Bridge, you've got the old Holiday Inn complex. That no wake area has been in there for 30 years. You know, anyway, I'm just very dissatisfied with the county and how they drag their feet for so long. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Jim Wild, and I live at 202 Shore Acres. 3 things have happened probably in the last 10 years or whenever it's been since La Crosse made their no-wake ordinance that have all acted to funnel more traffic on the West Channel. One is a no-wake zone in La Crosse. 2 is that somebody, I don't know who, but somebody's marking the exit from the West Channel on the closing dam, so it's easy for anyone who doesn't spend a lot of time on the river to see how to get through there. It used to be more difficult, and frankly, that was a deterrent to traffic. And if it were up to me, I would not allow those markers to be put in place, but that isn't. And then the third thing is the advent of the increasing popularity of the bass tournaments. I mean, it seems like they're almost every week now in some way, shape, or form. And I think those are all reasonable explanations for why things are getting worse. I echo what some of my colleagues have said as regards the shoreline damage, the boat damage, the dock damage, and the safety concerns. As best I can recall, we had a meeting in 2019 that I attended, and I personally went to every house on the West Channel on Shore Acres and talked to all the people that were there, and everyone that lived on Shore Acres was there except 3 people. And I had a petition saying we'd like to petition the county commissioners to make the West Channel a no-wake zone. And everybody I talked to signed the petition. And of the 3 people that weren't there, I believe 2 of them were here at the meeting, and they both seconded that too. So it's, with one possible exception, to the best of my recollection, it was unanimous that everybody that lives on Shore Acres is in favor of that being made a no-wake zone. It seems to me the government's supposed to kind of represent the will of the people, and that's obviously the will of the people. I didn't bring a copy of that petition with me, but I suspect it's in your records because I gave it to the people at that meeting. But if need be, I can try and dig that up, or frankly, I can go down knocking on doors and get them signed again, because I'm sure that everybody that signed it last time will sign it this time.
Thank you.
I'm Brent Hannaful. I guess family homes at 238 Shore Acres Road. I pay taxes on multiple undeveloped parcels. Writing my name. So basically all I have to say is I'm for the slow no wake ordinance.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, this is the Hannafuls. I'm Beth Hannaful. I have been out on the dock with kids that are 3 years difference in age. The oldest one right now is 10. And I've had to grab the post to hold on to the post as they come by. Because we're right at the upper entrance where they have that cut. And they come in and they swing in, and then they come around our dock and they swing out. And you can stand there and try to tell them stop. I know they can't hear me, but you're going to stop. And they don't stop. They just put the pedal to the metal and take off down the river. And I know they're doing it for money. They've got to make the money, but it's destroyed docks over there. I've actually literally had to hold on to the post to keep from myself being tossed in. The 3 kids have on life jackets, but I worry about them being tossed in too. They'll probably think it was wonderful, but their grandmother wouldn't. So, that's Beth Hannaful, and I'm at 238 Shore Acres Road. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Ron Wilkie. My wife Karen's here with me tonight too. We both strongly support the no-wake zone. We live at 110 Shore Acres Road. I know we've heard a lot about the fishing tournaments so far tonight, and that is a huge deal. And also Dr. Wild's point about the markers out there to provide easier access into that channel. I think that's a big deal too. And what that has done, it's really opened up that channel to not just the fishermen, the bass boats, and some of those folks they do. Yeah, I've noticed them trying to hug the west side, but no, it's one after another. But there is some degree of common sense with them. But the weekends, folks, you would expect common sense to prevail. And people have respect for property and other boats on the river. It goes out the window. It's constant. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We've got grandchildren. Same thing with Mrs. Hannaful. We can't have them on the dock. That's the only time they can be there. And all of this is created by the fact that people are rerouting to avoid a no-wake zone that they've been able to establish and maintain for years in the city of La Crosse. Well, why can't we have that here? I respect, I come from a background, I get what you guys are up against. I know what it's like dealing with the public. This is going to be one of these things that there are people that could fill this room with fishermen that would vastly outnumber the residents on our stretch of the West Channel. This is about safety and what's doing the right thing. It's not going to be politically popular with some people, but it's a safety thing. And again, I come from a work background. I know you've got to plan. There's some things you have to plan for the worst and hope for the best. I surely hope the day doesn't come that the fire and rescue boats are out there fishing somebody out of that river after a very tragic, tragic accident. So I hope you find it in your way. As commissioners, thank you. Thank you. It's been a long time coming to get to this point, I think. I hope you can follow through and do what we believe is the right thing out of a huge concern for safety. Thank you very much. And again, Ron Wilkie, 110 Shore Acres. I can't multitask, so I need to write this down.
I know that one.
Yeah, that too, and I'm left-handed.
We forgive you for that.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Todd Hammis, 2640 Bayshore Drive. I live in La Crosse. I'm in the minority here tonight because I'm one of those tournament fishermen. And I'm also a law-abiding tournament fisherman. I understand these folks' concern. I've actually been fishing in the West Channel when these people, fellow competitors, come blowing through there, 3 and 4 wide. I get it. But I believe the law states that if you are 100 feet from a developed shoreline, it's a free zone to run. Sheriff, am I correct in this? Okay. Is it, the city of La Crosse, they did their deal when they put the no-wake zone in, and we were really hoping that this doesn't go through from the tournament perspective. The cities, La Crosse, Onalaska, we're going to lose millions and millions of dollars in revenue if the major tournaments pull out of here because of the no-wake zones. And it's going to hurt all of the businesses, Quick Trip, your local restaurants, the marine shops, the guys' wives that travel with them, they shop in your stores, they buy your goods, they do all of this. We don't like going down the West Channel any more than you guys like having us come down there. But the thing that's going to happen is if you slow the boats down, these guys are going to push it right to the edge. And then my boat, when I'm in an idle and I'm going, makes a bigger wake than if I'm on plane and I'm running. I'm in that area maybe 30 seconds at the most, and I'm out of there. But I'm not going back through there 50, 60 times a day. You'll see me in the morning. When I make my run down in the morning, 90% of my day, my boat is shut down and I'm on my trolling motor fishing. I'm not out eroding the shoreline and doing things like this. So I really hope you guys take this all into consideration. I do respect the concerns of the citizens that live there for their children's safety, because there are some bad apples that do ruin it for the guys that are good about it. I have a lot of sponsors. I have a wrap boat with a bunch of sponsors on it, and my sponsors have all told me that if you are a violator and you get tickets, for you sponsorships get dropped. And we're out there, we're trying to prevent a good name, for our sport and the people that help us do it. So I'm just asking that you look at it from our side too. Mr. Wilkie, I believe the gentleman that spoke before me, said, yeah, we could have filled this room with, fishermen tonight that would have outnumbered everybody here. Well, you know what? That starts with one, and I guess maybe, and I don't see a whole room full of fishermen here. And that meeting's been out there for weeks, and apparently nobody cared enough to show up. So maybe they don't care. You know, and a lot of them are probably gonna just, you know, they're just gonna say, well, you know, they're not gonna be able to enforce it. I believe the last harbor commission meeting, we had that one, and you said that, you know, you could put it in, but you don't have the manpower to really enforce it. You know, and guys are just gonna blow through there.
Can you, you're up.
Okay, all right,
You
I'm
can-
sorry.
No, you can finish your thought. but-
Okay, that, but you know, but there again, you know, a few bad apples spoil it for the rest of us and try to do the right thing and be respectful of the landowners and the people that do out there because they want to enjoy their waterfront. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Anybody else wish to speak? Oh, okay.
I'm Ryan Hannaful, Shore Acres. Rather than repeat what everyone said, I'll talk about noise pollution. I don't know anything about bass boats. From my understanding, they're used for fishing. I didn't know they were used as NASCAR, souped up carburetors and all that crap. They're very loud at full speed, and I believe they start around 6 a.m. or whenever the sun comes up, especially obviously during the summer, springtime, and it's loud. And I play rock and roll music, but yet these boats sound like a lawnmower going by your bedroom window. You know. So, anyways, thank you.
Thank you.
Jay Jensen, I live at 102 Shore Acres Road. I'd like to everything that the residents of Shore Acres Road said, I'm in agreement with. The idea of the livability of the property on Shore Acres has really been deteriorated since the bass tournaments have gone full speed into the area. You can't even hardly be in the yard and carry on a conversation because of the noise. The use of the river is, you can't use it if the bass tournaments are going on. It's a dangerous situation. The livability of it is just terrible. And I hope that the commissioners will strongly consider this ordinance. As to the economic impact on the community from this ordinance, it is the community that benefits primarily from the bass tournaments is the La Crosse, Wisconsin community, and it's not the La Crescent or the Houston County community. If they want to support the bass tournaments, they should consider eliminating the no-wake zone during those tournaments. They have all kinds of options to deal with this financially. I think the primary concern of the commissioners of Houston County should be the residents of Houston County.
Thank you.
My name's Brad Sturm, and I live at 232 Shore Acres Road, and I'm here to speak in favor of the no-wake zone. I can't add a whole lot of detail other than what my neighbors have already provided, but I just would also reaffirm the notion that this is a nuisance. And a couple comments were made. One was that the government is here to serve the people, and so I think we all need to speak loudly as to the challenges it is to have the noise pollution, the noise issue, the safety issue, the ecology issue with respect to shorelines, and any number of things. So I just want to make sure that, and the other comment I wanted to make is that I'm all for economic activity, but I just don't believe 4 minutes of a no-wake zone is going to really make the difference between someone coming to fish in a bass tournament or not fishing a bass tournament. So, thank you.
Can I say one more thing?
Give them 5 seconds of mine.
I think,
No, I just,
yeah, I think we'll try to get through everybody
Yeah,
first. We
okay,
just weren't
that's
sure
fine.
what to expect, and then, after that, then, yeah, I think we'll allow people. to
somebody may
speak
say
then.
what I'm gonna say anyways.
See if you think of anything.
I'm Jack Miller. I live at 758 Shore Acres Road, which isn't on the west channel. We have a channel that goes by our house too, and we have a closing dam close that sometimes will deter them by taking their crop or lower unit out, which is good. But we have morons go by our dock 10 feet from my pontoon boat, so it's rocking the whole dock. But I have questions as much as I have comments, because as a former commissioner, I went down this road a couple of times, and the former mayor of La Crosse was adamantly against it. He wouldn't even talk to me about it. I went to the Harbor Commission, the same as Dave did. They said, well, they would be in favor of it, but the mayor wouldn't approve it anyhow, which he had to. So it kept being a dead end. But as far as passing it up to the DNR, is it going to be the Minnesota DNR and the Wisconsin DNR? Is it going to
It'll be Minnesota. I'm not, I guess that would be a better question for Sam as far as how they send it. I'm assuming they would check with any jurisdiction that may have authority and figure it out. And then there would be there could possibly be some kind of joint powers agreement involved with that as well.
I'm concerned about that, because at the time, you got 2 states, 2 counties, 2 cities. It gets quite complicated, so I hope the steps are pretty well outlined as to where to go and who to get the approval from. The other thing that Brad probably doesn't realize is that the bass wear wristwatches. And so they're kind of watching when those bass boats come through, so they got to go through that fast. I mean, that's how foolish it is. I mean, if that's going to cost you a tournament because you slow down for the length of the West Channel, it's just a joke. And if they can rationalize that, I'd certainly like to hear the rationalization. And again, the safety issue, it was mentioned grandkids on the dock, but it's also, that's where people launch their boats at the West Channel, boat landing. And so you're floating out with your pontoon full of family, and you got bass boats bearing down on you. It's extremely hazardous. And one other thing, the La Crosse has a no wake zone. And the main channel is, what, 10 times wider? But they don't enforce it. I'm out on the river a lot, and people are zooming by me on the main channel. I've never seen anybody stop, absolutely never. And that's been 15 years that I've lived here, and had a boathouse previous to that. Never have I seen anyone stop for going through a no wake zone. But anyway, that's all I got.
Jack, I got stopped once.
Can I have a follow-up comment? Do I need to come back to the podium? Or is there somebody else?
Has everybody that wanted the chance to speak had the chance to speak at least once? Yeah.
Open up for second term around.
Got one here.
I'm just trying to get some courage to come up there.
Once we've got the first timers through, then we'll open up for second time.
Okay.
My name is Bob Lohr. My wife Jean is with me tonight, and we're kind of in agreement on this whole project. Just maybe a little different approach to this thing. I've lived down there for quite a while, and it seems like when these bass tournaments, when La Crosse close, to no wake, and we've got these boats coming up in our area. Is there any possible way that La Crosse, I know it's probably been tried, but my feeling is if we could get them to get rid of that no wake zone over there. I've sat over there having lunch many times, and the wake is not that bad. I know they're making big plans for these excursion boats that are going to be parked there. they won't cause, they'll probably block any damage we'd have to riprap in the cross. But my feeling is that if we can open that up, that will alleviate a lot of pressure on the West Channel. And maybe we could get it done without any ordinances or something like that. I question the Harbor Commission as to where they're going with things that they do over there. They have the people that run the Harbor Commission also are doing a lot of the work there. That sounds like to me a conflict of interest, and they're the ones that have started this no-wake zone in La Crosse. I agree with everybody here. I would love to start skiing at 80, but I don't think that'll happen, so I don't have to worry about any no-wake from me anymore. But I think this is a different idea. If we can get La Crosse to do that, I just don't understand why they had to have, I know years ago they had some old wooden docks out there, and they were bouncing around just like ours. And now they're not there, of course, but I just think we can maybe pursue that other angle, see if that works, and then go from there. What's my last name? We forget.
You can be.
We'll believe whatever you put down.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to say one more thing.
Any other first timers?
First time?
Pardon?
Okay.
Second time around?
Yep, Beth Hannaful again. Being on the upper end, we're talking about the bass boaters that sit there down with problems. They're not. There are a lot of boats that are going by that upper end and using the cut that's towards the west in that opening there. There's one up towards the east and there's one towards the west. And that's the one where they come in and I have my grandchildren generally on Tuesdays and Thursdays during the summer. And that's the one where they'll swing into the bay that's right there beside us. It's just a little area. And they couldn't this year, thank goodness, because deposits of sand, but they'd swing in, and that forces them to go like this, swing in and come around our dock and go. And your dock is gonna rock whenever they do it that close. And they're not here just for the weekend. They come in on Monday of the week that the things are gonna happen. And they're in, if there's gonna be 100 and some odd people, they're in there that whole week before. It's not one weekend, or 2 weekends, or 3 weekends. It's an entire week before. And they're cutting, a lot of them have found that cut. And they're cutting in, coming around our dock, and you can be out on your dock, and they don't take any, they might wave at you if they see you trying to get their attention, but they don't take anything from you. And it's like, you're not even in a tourney today, and you're acting rude and obnoxious. You know, if you see little kids on a dock, you should be willing to slow down. So, Beth Hannaful, 238.
Second time around, there's four.
Part of what I was wanting to timber down again, 114 shore acres. I have a walleye boat. I fish walleye tournaments, and so I can appreciate the gentleman here with fishing. But you know, like I said, I timed that just this year. It was 4 minutes it took me to get down there. And you know, I know time is a big concern for the fishermen, but if they all have the same restriction, it shouldn't really matter. I mean, everybody has to go that speed. So, you know, and I just think that I'm not sure, aren't looking at this right. I mean, it has to be the concern of the safety. You know, yeah, I don't want my dock all torn up, but I certainly don't want any of my family hurting. You know, shore acres is probably I don't want to, this is going to sound wrong, it's probably one of the biggest subdivisions as far as taxes we have in La Crescent. Those homes pay a lot of taxes, tax dollars, and we could sure use your help on this, we really could. So, thank you.
Second time arounders,
Dennis Huber, 118 Shore Acres Road. I should say that when we got flooded out in 2001, we built a new house down. So we moved in 2005. I used to have 3 feet on the other side of my cement wall. And that disappeared. It got washed away. I used to have blueberries planted on the river side of my wall. That's how much space I had up there. And that's all gone. And the other thing is for the safety factor, you gotta remember, we got people out there that are in these little paddle boats. My neighbor, for instance, the next neighbor to me going to the north, she said she almost got swamped out there by a bass boat. Because they're going so fast, and they didn't even slow down or even bother to look behind them. They just tore right straight on down the river. So, gotta think of the kids that are down there too. And we don't need boats going by 50 miles an hour, wherever fast they go. But they only have one speed, that's one of the things. Hopefully, nobody ever has a problem. It's scary sometimes. That's all I can say.
Pat Amos again, 2640 Bayshore Drive. I just want the people here to know that there are being some options that are being looked at. There are people that are actually checking into the legality behind whether or not the city of La Crosse has the legal right to regulate a federal waterway. They're looking into that. I don't know if you people have all seen all of the shoreline development going on at Riverside Park because of the new cruise boats or whatever coming. I'm pretty sure La Crosse isn't going to bend on this. I mean, we've offered them options of from 6 to 8 in the morning, let us go because nobody's out there. After that, you know, then make it no wake. The sheriff here has been at several of these meetings and he's heard these. They've also suggested like the holiday weekends, like 4th of July, Memorial Day, Labor Day, making those the no wake weekends. Whether, you know, I don't know if that's, you know, even a consideration or not, but my thought here is, you people, if you have this concern, have you talked to the city of La Crosse, their board, common council, harbor commission? I mean, say, look, you know, we had these meetings, these are our concerns, can we work together in a collaborative effort to find the best solution that works well for everybody?
That's been going on for at least 10 years.
Okay, I'm just saying, you know, I know it sounds like you're beating that horse, but, you know, I mean, maybe someday legislations will change, elected officials will change, and maybe there'll be a breakthrough, you know, that would be the best for all of us. You know, all I hear about from all the people here, and this is, you know, the bass boats, the bass boats, the bass boats. Well, folks, bass boats aren't the only boats that make wakes. You know, let's be real here. I have actually fished in the West Channel a lot. Gunnerston Point, I fished the dock with the lady who just spoke, that closing dam. I fished in there quite a bit. And the people on personal watercraft, if you think the bass boaters are bad, just go out there with the watercraft. The PWC people, they, you know, if you're irritated with us, we're irritated with them. You know, so you're going to have to look at every watercraft. You can't just be banging the bass boats here. You know, we're out here, we're trying to supplement an income. Some of us actually do this for a living. You know, and we got families to feed too, you know, so we're just, hey, be fair about it. If you're going to regulate it for everybody, then do it, but don't just pick on us. Thanks.
Ron Wilkie, 110 Shore Acres, and thank you, Mr. Hammes, for being here and sharing your perspective too. It's not easy to be the only one in the room right now, speaking in opposition. And I think you heard me say first time around, it's not just the bass boats, and I think Mr. Hammes was doing a pretty good job of making the case I'm trying to make, and it kind of connects to the enforceability of this whole thing. None of us expects the sheriff boat to be out there ticketing every boat that goes by, ignoring the rules. Jack, I will tell you, I did get pulled over. Normally I have my wake police in the boat with me, my wife, Karen, but we were coming out the upper end of that no-wake zone on the main channel, and we got pulled over I got pulled over one day, got a warning. But it's like, dude, out on the interstate, back in the day, does everybody going 80 miles an hour get pulled over? No. But all of those people that don't have the common sense, the people that aren't bass boat, the fishermen, they're going to respect that no wake marker. They're not thinking right now, but if that marker's there, it's going to have a dramatic impact on that section of the river. And we don't expect that everybody's going to get ticketed, but it would be nice when you're getting rocked off your dock to be able to at least point to the no wake sign out there to remind people. And a lot of people, that might be all it takes, and just once. So, thank you again.
I want to bring up one point that has not been voiced. And that's that this is going to be very hard for you guys to do anything. I don't know exactly why.
Mr. Wild?
Yes, I'm sorry. I wrote it down here.
Okay, thank you.
I have delusions of things. I've been talking with people and coming to meetings for well over a decade. And during that period of time, things have gotten fairly rapidly, progressively worse. So there's, for some reasons that I can't quite comprehend, there's a great deal of resistance to doing this. And if you guys are going to prevail, and I'm assuming you're in agreement with your constituents, it's going to be hard to do. And if there's anything that we can do to help you, and me personally, I would be happy to. I mean, if you need a place to store the buoys, you need help putting them out, assuming we get to that point, I'd be happy to be of assistance in both regards. I have a harbor at my house, we can put the buoys in there and leave them until the ice eats them.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to have their second chance or a handful?
Well, the only comment I have is, what is the timeline going to be now for any action to be taken? What are you folks going to do next? And how many weeks or months later, before the next meeting you people have, when you vote on something that you proposed at the meeting previous to that? Are we talking next year at this time? Or what's going to be your timetable?
So the next step, I guess, after we get our documentation all settled, would be to approach the county board and ask them, based upon the public input we received tonight, whether they would like us to move forward making an application. Once that gets sent up, I believe the DNR has 120 days to review.
Up to
120 days. And at that point, then, I guess I'm not sure the timeline for once it comes back down, but I would expect that we would, if we get the approval to attempt to move forward on it, I would expect that it would go in front of the county board fairly quickly at that point. All the legwork has been done.
I'm waiting for the paperwork.
Why was this paperwork done several months ago? This has been an ongoing thing for 10 years. For the past 3 years, it's been a real concerted effort to get something done. And yet here we are, and nothing seems to have been done yet, other than calling this public meeting again. I thought the meeting we had few months back was the start of the process to get all the paperwork done and everything filed, and that this meeting would just be a required public meeting announcing the new wake zone. Now, here we are, nothing's been accomplished as far as most of us feel.
The information that we sent up to the DNR last fall, referring to your meeting last summer, we sent documentation up to DNR. They sent it back and said we had to have this. That was the delay up there. So we've already had this thing in place before the end of last year. However, because of their protocol, we had to bring it back to here, and then it takes us the time to get the public notice and all the things. The unfortunate thing is to let more people be aware of it, and that's what we're trying to do. As I said earlier, we're gathering information to go forward with a yay or a nay on the county board level, and then she has the opportunity to send it up to St. Paul. And I would hope, and I've been wanting to get this thing done since last summer personally, but things are beyond our control. And that's one of the things. We sent it in, found out that they wanted this done beforehand, where we felt it was done after they gave their stamp of approval. So they want us to do this first before we get the stamp of approval, if we get it. Is that kind of what it's at?
That sounds good, yep.
Okay. So what we have been working on it. It isn't that I've been sitting on my hands.
We've talked about it several times, and it just takes time.
Well, it seems like Wisconsin, you get a lot more accomplished over there than we can in Minnesota.
Well, their system is a little bit different than ours too. The rules, laws, procedures are a whole lot different. I found out even in other issues that we're going to have meetings about coming up, that's how they appraise things. I'll use that as an example. So, I mean, we don't want to get into that issue tonight, but that's something that was all on our minds too. So, things are different when the water comes in between two states. And how they handle things is different than us. And unfortunately, our legislators make rules, make them more cautious. And we want to do it right. And in error, we sent it in to the DNR, and they said, no, you can't do it that way. You got the horse before the cart. We want you to get the cart before the horse. We're getting the cart done tonight. Thank you.
Well, people can see it.
Anybody else wish to speak? Either first time through or second time through or third time if need. This is the information that we need to get together. And as I said, there's no vote going to be done tonight, but 4 out of the 5 board members were available to hear it direct, not have to rely on video. And whatever the commissioners come up with, as I sit here, I think everybody knows where I stand. But there's other votes that need to be done. So,
Joey, I wanted to wait until everybody had a chance, but I guess I would like to address both the commissioners and the citizens.
By all means.
And kind of be on record. I don't really want to stand with my back to all the citizens here.
You don't want to turn your back? What a surprise!
I just want to make sure, kind of be on record, I guess, that like the proposed ordinance gives the sheriff the authority to enforce this ordinance. And I guess my personal feelings are, I do believe there's valid arguments on both sides of this issue. I think the safety issue is huge. I get that, I understand that. But I want to make sure that the commissioners understand that there's a whole lot of hoops to get through here first. On the state level, looks like on the federal level, what I'm reading in the DNR's worksheet is that if 2 governmental bodies have the authority or the jurisdiction over one body of water, which would be our case, we've got La Crosse County and Houston County, they both have to have an ordinance. So that's yet another hurdle. So I don't want anybody to misunderstand that this is a done deal already, because we're far from that. I'm just being realistic. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm just saying there's a lot more hurdles to get through. But I want to make sure that the commissioners understand that if we get to the point where we're voting on this as a county board to enact this ordinance, I've expressed this concern to a few of the commissioners, we need to have a serious conversation about enforcement capabilities. You know what our budget is for water patrol. Our budget is primarily funded through grants. The levy to the taxpayers is roughly around $2,000 a year. The taxpayers actually pay for our water patrol. The rest of it's all funded through grants. And where we're sitting currently is not going to give us the capabilities to enforce this ordinance. Mr. Wilkie, I think he recognized that or responded to that, and I appreciate that. I do think you'd get a fair amount of voluntary compliance out of a no-wake zone. I truly do believe that. But just so everybody in this room understands that currently, as we sit, we do not have the capabilities to enforce this on a regular or consistent basis. All right? And then I can answer questions if anybody wants, if anybody has any questions, but otherwise I was just here tonight to kind of listen to what everybody's views are.
Mark?
Yeah.
On a weekend when there's a tournament, you would have the capability, wouldn't you, to have the boat sit at the end of the West Channel, at least in a visible manner?
We could. The problem comes is the majority of our recreational boating traffic is down towards the Brownsville area. Everybody knows that. The tournaments usually begin, boats start coming through at 6 a.m. We usually have 4 to 5 hour patrols out there. That's all we have. So if we start at 6 in the morning, by 10, 11 o'clock, there really isn't any other boat traffic out there. Our boat traffic is primarily in the afternoon and early evenings. I mean, we could on occasion. I just want to make sure everybody is clear of the fact that we certainly couldn't be up there every time.
Well, I've expressed this before when it was brought up too, that there's just a certain amount of impossibility. I mean, people buy my dock at 35, 40, whatever you're going.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to be able to run out there and write down the boat numbers. It's impossible.
Yeah, I understand
so
that.
You have to rely on common sense, and that doesn't work very well for a lot of people.
Well, common sense seems to be a limited commodity. But like I said, I do feel that there's valid arguments on both sides, but I think you would get a fair amount of voluntary compliance on it. So. Yeah.
I thought I heard you say that a similar ordinance that we passed in LaCrosse County. Did I hear you with that?
That's what I read in the paperwork, yes. That if two governmental bodies have jurisdiction over the same body of water, that they both have to have ordinance.
I was looking at a statute that said that it would be enforceable between the banks. I'm not going to debate whether you're to say.
Right, but this is just the Minnesota process that they say we have to follow or have. That's all I'm saying.
And I'd like to see the evidence that Wisconsin is doing that too. It didn't look like it based on what I've seen of public notice and what's been posted in the LaCrosse paper.
Yeah.
So it's odd that Minnesota would have that requirement and Wisconsin wouldn't. And I'm not, again, we're not debating, okay, it's just that I wonder.
Yeah.
Yeah, for some reason I thought that they found something that Minnesota actually has control of that water.
They have, it's a very, I believe it's from the early 1900s or late 1800s that gives us jurisdictional, it's a jurisdictional act, it's called actually in the statute. I don't know, I mean, our county attorney has reviewed it, he feels it would suffice. I have some doubts about that, and I would certainly expect legal challenges if we get to that point. Yes, Bob?
So just a curiosity question, I'm not a river person, so with regard to the east side of the East Bay, is that LaCrosse County or City of LaCrosse? I know City of LaCrosse is in LaCrosse County, but who is?
I believe that's LaCrosse County there.
So it's not part of the city. So talking to the mayor of La Crosse doesn't have any bearing on it. It's talking to the county board.
Yeah, and I'm not even.
It might be easier to get a joint powers agreement with the county board rather than
Well, I
the
think
city.
it'd be a lot easier to work with the county board.
Pardon?
Across,
La Crosse City or La Crosse County?
across city,
So that is city all the way up to that.
Gunderson Island is in the city.
It is a city.
All right.
Oh, okay,
Second question.
okay.
So we're talking the west channel from the bridge north. There's already a no-wake zone from the bridge south,
Correct.
down past Pettibone?
Yep.
So you're telling me when there's a bass tournament, those bass boats are coming up past Pettibone at 5 miles an hour until they hit the bridge, and that's when they can?
No, they're not.
They go around the back.
They run that back, okay, that's what I thought, okay.
Which,
That's not enforced.
So we got things to look at yet, but we wanted to get things rolling, and like I say, last fall, we started the process, and we found that there was some correction needed to be done, and we're getting things done. And so that's where we're at now, and staff from Environmental Services will do what the board decides.
Let's get that horse killed.
Anybody else wish to speak on record for the public hearing part of it here?
When you anticipate we'll put this on the agenda?
Can we get together for next week?
Yeah, I was gonna, if you guys were in support of it, I would do it next week.
Okay. It'll be on next Tuesday's agenda. I'll ask for.
I'll
set officially.
confirm that with the county attorney, I guess,
Yeah.
but it was kind of dependent on how everybody felt tonight, so.
I'll file the paperwork asking for it to be on next week's agenda.
Okay.
Thank you.
thank you guys.
Thanks for all.
Thank you.
Would it be helpful or